Hello, this is Will Faerber from Art to Ride, and today we're looking at a second submission by Sarah of her horse Luna. In our first submission with Luna, we saw that she was a little footsore. It turns out that Sarah had taken the shoes off this horse at the request of a trainer and ended up with a sore horse. We see this all the time, so happily she's gotten her shoes back on the horse. Very few horses can actually work barefoot and stay sound, it seems. So they have to have a really good foot with lots of heel in order for that to happen, but so many horses are so low slung in the heels, they end up just very footsore on the heels. Their heels are too low. But this is a better walk than what we've seen in the past. Better stretching, a little more active, not quite so stuck in the mud. So it's certainly an improvement. She's still too slow here, but I would like to see it continue in this direction. I think the horse is going to get better and better. Now here in the trot, this is certainly an improvement over what we saw before, though not swinging out as much as we like. She still looks a little unlevel here and there, but it's better than what I saw in the past. So I think you're on the right track here. You know, just do a lot of walk work, really getting the horse stretching over the back, giving this opportunity for its feet to heel up and feel sound again. And then just test out this trot, you know, every couple of days or so, or once a day if you like, and just see what we get. Now, as I say, this certainly looks better than I saw the horse before in the trot. It's starting to stretch more. And that's just the thing you want to do. Just keep coming back to it every couple of days. She's certainly looking sounder here than she looked in the first video, so this is better. Not 100%, but certainly better than I saw before. But you're certainly on the right track. And if you can get that good walk and really get her swinging over her back, and she does look better there when she comes back to the walk, how much better that looks a little bit for a few strides. I'd like to see you work closer to the horse, so shortening your line a little bit so you can stay a little closer to the horse and keep it a little more active with your whip there, keeping it ahead of your leg a little more. And just continue to keep trying to encourage a longer, more active swinging walk. And then, of course, as I said, just coming back and testing that trot work every now and then, you know, once a day or twice, and see what happens. But know that it will happen in time if you give the horse time to rehab. And, you know, the walk is the gate of the rehab. And if we can get the horse over its back, you know, to where it feels sound and can get really swinging, we can develop a lot of muscle without ever going into a trot. You know, we used to do this a great deal, for instance, getting fox hunting horses ready to go for their year. You know, they usually have the summer off back in the days when we did it that way, and bring them back in the spring. They will have healed up and just take a couple of months of just walking, work out on the trails to let them get their back swinging and get sound and build a lot of condition just in the walk. So that's what you want to do here with this one. There's lots of walk work. This walk is looking better here. Little more active step. As I say, in the first video that I saw of this horse, it just very much looked like it was stuck in the mud behind and was just barely being able to pull its hind legs up. But this is certainly better. It's tracking up better into the track of the front feet. The stretch is deeper, and that's what we want to see. Once again, I'd just like to see you work a little closer to the horse, staying a little more behind its eye, and just keeping your whip up a little more, and see if you can't encourage a little more active and swinging walk. I think you can with this horse, and I think it's going to continue to improve with what you've done here. Very nice stretch there in the walk. This neck is much, much better than it looked in the last video that I saw. So that's a big improvement. You're certainly on the right track. I know it's very difficult for all you people living with winter, especially back east this year. It must be terrible for all the people in the Boston and New York area and the Great Lakes area, I think, have been really hit hard. So just the fact that you're getting out and getting this done in the kind of weather you've been having back there is a step in the right direction and a good way to keep them going. Weather can be very much a challenge, but we see from our good friend Tiddy van Hela in Sweden, even on ice and snow, you can get horses working if you have the right shoes on them. How important that was to those people as well. So this is a better walk here. This is starting to swing a little more actively. So again, I just feel like you could encourage a lot more. Once again, by getting your line a little shorter and getting a little closer to her, you can ask for more. But as I said, even this is a big improvement over what I saw last time. So we're certainly on the right track. And this is what we have to do, you know, when horses are unsound. You just simply have to try to find the place where you can work them that they're comfortable, and that's usually the walk, because we can do a lot of walk work. You know, I'm always surprised at how many so-called dressage riders almost never walk their horses. We see them get on, immediately they're, you know, trotting away. And, It takes a long time to get a feel for the walk because the walk is so slow. You don't have that sort of natural excitement of the faster gaits of the trot and canter, which can often make people think that their horses are doing something just because they're more actively moving. So the walk takes a really long time to really get the feel of it, but it's so important. I mean, Mr. Oliveira used to say that the school walk, which I would call a working walk over the back, is really the hallmark of the good foundation, is where we explain everything to the horse without things coming so fast, and especially all the ladder work and these kinds of things. We can do a lot of that in the walk without injuring the horse, whereas if we do a lot of that in the trot, we may very well injure them, especially if they're not over their backs. People forget that dressage is really great for horses, but it's really bad for horses to do it badly. There's probably nothing worse for horses than bad dressage, where their necks are pulled down and their heads are pulled in and this kind of thing. But this is a better walk. This is also a good strategy that you're using here of just letting the horse go straight down the long side like that rather than always circling. Certainly a good thing to do, as circles can be a little more difficult for the horse. So when you do those long sides, though, once again, I'd like to see you get behind her a little more and just try to make this walk a little more active. I feel like there's a lot more here that you could be getting if you were asking for it. So getting behind that eye and keeping your whip up, maybe working a little closer to her. And once again, I like that thing of taking the horse down the long side, letting it be straight. That's good. Now, this walk is looking quite nice. This is such an improvement over the last time I saw it. And there she's coming through and stepping quite nicely behind. Getting a little more active, and that's what we want to see. Another thing you could always do as well is to simply add a pole to what you're doing if you're just walking. That is, just put one single pole on the ground and just let them walk over a single pole on the ground. Just that lets them, they have to work a little harder. They have to flex the hock a little more. So that might be a good way to go for you with this horse. Just set a single pole out from the rail. You can set a couple of guide poles. In other words, make it like a T. So, if the horse has a tendency to want to step away from the pole, you have a little guide going in. But that would also be a good thing for this horse. Another little exercise that just having to step up over that little pole, makes a big, big difference. Once again, here in the trot, this is a better trot than what I saw before. It looks a little bit more level, though I still see a little bit of something there. But this is better, and I think this is the way to go. As I said, coming back to this, just doing a little bit of this trot work each day. That's actually looking pretty good there. Now, we want her to stretch into that a lot more than she's doing. And, and of course, the foot soundness thing can be an issue. If you have a horse that's sore in its front feet, it's not going to want to stretch down because that may put a little more pressure on the front feet as the horse shifts its weight a little bit more. But that's so important. We can't worry about a horse being on the forehand at the beginning. Of course, they're going to be on the forehand. That's the point of doing the correct work. But if they're on their forehand and they get over their back, they will outgrow being on their forehand, so to speak, because the withers will go through the change it needs to. It will pull up, and the horse will develop across its top line, and then we'll see the horse become lighter in front. But that's not something you can do artificially. If a horse either has the muscles to get off its front end or it doesn't. There, once again, we still just see that little bit of pulling, a little bit of unlevelness there, but better than it was. And I think you're doing about the right amount of time. There she's stretching into a little bit. So the more you get the walk to stretch, the better the trot is going to stretch. That being the optimal point here. There, that's actually looking pretty good there, and she's looking pretty level. So it's certainly getting better as it's going. Stretch could still be deeper, but it's much better than it was. Good. I like how when she comes back to the walk, look how much more active that step is. And that's what we want to see. Once again, it's not enough just to have the horse stretch down into the stretch down rather. We must get the horse to swing through behind. So getting the horse to stretch down, we see a lot of people, for instance, Western riders who do kind of the peanut rolling, where their nose is extremely stretched down, but they're not asking the horse to move, so nothing develops. So once again, it's not enough just to have the head down. That's just a position that facilitates the back swinging through. But as I said, this is a better trot than it was the last time that we saw her, and a better walk. And each time you do the trot, it just comes back and it looks a little better in the walk, so that's a good thing. Good stretch in the walk there, and even a little more rhythmic behind. Still a little slow, but better than it was. So the next time I see a video with you, I'd just like to see you working a little closer to the horse, because I think you can get more out of her than you're doing here. By just asking for a little more, staying a little closer to her where you can tap her with the whip if you need to. In other words, intervene a little more often. That's pretty good there, though. But, once again, if you compare this with what we saw in the first video, this step is much more active. But we're looking to make a small improvement in every horse every day. And if we get that, pretty soon we have big improvements. The only thing that we can really change in a day, the only dramatic improvement we can ever make in a horse is to have one that's not working over its back and get it to stretch and get it over its back. That's the only really big improvement we can ever make in a horse in a day. Everything else comes very slowly as we build those muscles to the point where the horse begins to lighten its forehand because it can take more weight behind and lift its back and balance itself on all four legs, that being the point. By lifting the back is what allows the front and back end to work together. The back is hollow. The horse is kind of like two men in a horse suit. So that was a really good walk. Now, I like how you came out of that corner there. See, you encouraged a little more, and that walk got good for a minute. And you should have gone on encouraging her like that, because that was much better. Once again, I think you can get more out of this horse. In the next video, that's really what I'm trying to see you focus on, is getting a little closer to her and seeing if you can't get this swing a little more active. Because I think you can. Like right here, you're just simply not asking for enough. So as in the immortal words of Capitaine Boudon, who wrote the book Exteriore Haute École, Outdoor and Indoor Riding, which Nuno Oliveira used to refer to as the reason he didn't write a book, because he thought it had already been written by Capitaine Boudon. But anyway, in his immortal words, ask for a lot, be satisfied with a little, and reward often. And if you follow that maxim in your training, you'll get a long way. So don't be afraid to ask for things, and if it falls apart a little bit, you just come back to what you know. That's the biggest step. Never try to push through a wall with a horse. Now this walk is looking really good here. That's better. The step got a little more active as she got lower in the stretch. So we ask for a lot, but just don't expect a lot. Don't expect perfection in a day of anything. You have to give your horses time to develop. And that's what's been missing from sort of modern horse training. We've everybody wanting everything fast, the breeders wanting to sell horses quickly, the people wanting to win quickly in the show ring, and we've let a lot of good work slip by. And we must back up now for the sake of the horses and start working them more correctly. Now right there, you're just getting a little bit ahead of the horse's eye there. And I'd like to see you stay back a little bit. See how that kind of slows him down. So even going down the long side, stay back a little bit. Stay a little closer. Not so close that you're ever within the strike zone of the horse's hind legs, but a little closer so that you can encourage a more active walk. But this is certainly a big improvement over what we saw in the last tape. And I think you're on the right track. And if you just give it time to develop, I think you'll be amazed at how quickly it will develop for you. And as she gets over her foot soundness, and once again, we have horse right now. I'm working on one that's we've been years trying to get him over his foot soundness problems. And in his case, he was a horse that was just run to wear him out, and so he pulled his shoes off so many times. He'd broken his feet up so much they didn't have much of a foot left. So, no foot, no horse, as the old horseman used to say. Horse has got to be sound, or there isn't much we can do with him. So as I said, once again, I want to see just working a little closer. Otherwise, everything is really good, and it's improved over what we saw. So keep up the great work, and in time you will get there. Now we're going to take a look here at your saddle. Some of these videos or pictures I really can't, it's a little dark for me to see. It does look like the channel is a little narrow in that saddle from what I can see. Might be the biggest issue with it, but it's hard for me to really see. It's rather dark there, and I can't really see. You might put your hand in that channel there and let me see. Horse's back looks quite good. Nothing just terrible stands out at me. This horse looks like it ought to be able to develop quite nicely. Looks like your shoer's done a good job. I like the looks of what I saw in the feet there. These videos are just a little too. There you go. And you can see that she's got a little drop in that back in the loin. Can you see that? So that's what we're going to try to improve over the next year or so and for the rest of your life. And once again, the feet look pretty good. Looks like your shoer's done a pretty good job for what I can see there. Now, once again, this is hard for me to see because I can't really, it's so dark there, but it looks like you've got a pretty, at least you're able to slide your hand under there, so that looks like it's probably okay. As I said in your video, I don't think your saddle is the biggest part of your problem. I think your foot soreness is the biggest part of your problem. So, that saddle looks like it's actually sitting on there pretty well. As I said, the channel might have been a bit narrow, but, I think that's about the worst of it. Now these shoes look pretty good, but I can't really tell. It looks like the horse might need a little more support under its heel. That is the shoe coming back a little farther, but I can't really see in this light, so might be. This is Will Faerber from Art to Ride. Keep up the great work with this horse. I look forward to seeing her improve in the next video. Keep her a little more active and ahead of your whip there a little bit.